This is something I know, I know, I know.
The Rockets are coming off of their first victory of the year. My God, it is good to get a 1 in that win column. That 0 was looking nasty. But we finally got a dub, a game against the Charlotte Hornets. There's a lot of takeaways from this game. It was a game that we led early, then let the rope go a little bit, then we led some more, then they almost came back in the end. But just so many takeaways. Just the main thing is that we got the victory done, because if you look at our schedule going forward, it gets pretty tough. I think we got a couple games against the Kings. You got Denver coming up, Memphis, Lakers. It is just like a murderer's row of teams coming up. So we definitely needed this one. Obviously I hope we don't go one for whatever coming up, but this was much needed. And I think for our guys and all the fans, we really needed this, because I know y'all would have rioted if the Rockets didn't win this game. But this was a hard-fought game, and I don't know if it needed to be, but the Rockets definitely showed a lot of improvement, and that's kind of been the theme of what I've been kind of preaching about the team. Is like, you have to understand the context of what's going on with them. It's literally like, this might be the 9th game they've played together. You take the 5 from the preseason, and then you take the 4 that we've played in now. It's going to take a lot of time. And even this game tonight, even though it was a win, there's still a lot of things they can improve on. I'm going to talk about all of that, but you still take it with a grain of salt, because what we're seeing is still the worst they're going to be. As much improved as they are from that Orlando game, this game is going forward is going to be the worst they're going to be. But there's so much that they've improved from game to game that you want to see. But I haven't done this in a while, so I'm excited to do this. Let's do Frank's play of the game. So here is my play of the game. It's fourth quarter, close game. The Hornets are, trying to make a pseudo comeback, as most bad teams try to do. And we need a bucket. And right now the ball's in Jalen Green's hand. That's, one of the players that you want to kind of trust in the future going down the stretch. And the reason I like this play is multiple things, and I'm going to explain, because in this play, every single player adds something to the play. Just to let you guys know, basketball is a team sport. So Jalen has the ball at the top of the key. Brandon Miller's guarding him. You get Fred and Alperen come in and do basically an ad hoc, just spur of the moment horn set at almost in the slot area on the 3-point line that gives Jalen a two-way go. If you guys remember from my last video, when guys go into, when teams run horns, usually one of the guys is going to roll, the other one's going to pop out, and it kind of creates confusion and advantages for the offense. The reason I love this play is I just want you to look at what everybody does based on their skill set off ball. And you could even say there's some bad defense by Charlotte here. They set the screen. Alperen, not a great screen, but Jalen is able to get downhill in a hurry. But just look at this pass. This is something that Jalen is really gifted at, is getting that little shovel pass to Alp in a roll. Their two-man game has been lacking this year. I do want them to get back into it, but I think a lot of it is predicated on whether Jalen feels like he's having a good game or whether he feels like he's going to press. And then you get this hammer dunk over PJ Washington, which is just, if you were watching the game, that was live. But that's not even the great part. Let's go back to the main action. You get the horns here. Now look at what everybody's doing. Fred, when he pops out for momentarily, Terry Rozier has to respect his three-point shooting. So that basically turns Alp's roll into an empty corner just by alignment. And then you have Dylan there, I think he was perfect from the three-point line, and Jabari, who had a good shooting game. So both LaMelo and Hayward have to respect their shooting. So this is when you're not the worst shooting team, this is what plays are supposed to look like. So right now, the defense is in a bind. PJ Washington has to respect Jalen's speed, because one, he's not a rim protector, so he's not going to just back up and try to contest it at the rim. Brandon Miller is trying his heart out to fight around the screen to get back into position to guarding Jalen. Alperen Sengun is basically rolling freely to the rim. Terry Rozier has to respect Fred VanVleet's three-point shooting ability, and what you get is a wide open dunk. And it's too late for PJ. Nothing. You're sealing the game right there. That's my play of the game. Great team ball. It looked like it was supposed to look like, but a lot of it was predicated on the shooting of the team and the pressure that the guys put on the Charlotte Hornets by stretching the floor in the game. So that play kind of just captures what you want to see out of the Rockets. Just using our skill set to punish the defense. And I think even though it wasn't a great game for a lot of our players on both sides of the court, some of them did well. Some people had great all-around games, but some guys did struggle. It was good enough. And I think good enough is where we want to be. Good enough for our bench is where we want to be, where they're serviceable. Like, I was holding my breath the whole time our bench was on the court, just hoping they didn't give up the lead. And they hit enough shots, got enough turnovers for them to keep the lead. And if you look at the stats, NBA.com, this might be the first game where our bench was a positive. Like, our bench was the main reason why we were able to stay in the game. Sadly, though, we lost Amen Thompson. They say he has a grade 2 ankle sprain, so he may be out for an extended period, probably about 4 to 6 weeks, which is gonna cost us because we're already thin with Kevin Porter Jr. and his situation, him being gone, Tari Eason with his injury. Now you lose Amen Thompson. You have Aaron Holiday coming in, even though he went 2 of 2 from the field, hitting 2 big threes. I don't trust him. I'm not gonna lie. I don't trust him to be a full serviceable backup guard, especially on defense. Great thing about Amen Thompson is his defensive versatility. At his size and his IQ, he's able to really switch out on bigger wings and guards because he has the athleticism and the speed. So losing that is going to be huge for us, to an already depleted bench. It's just we just happen to run across a team that has a worse bench than us. Anytime you see JT Thor throwing up threes, you're probably going to win that game. But, our bench was a positive. You look at it, Jayshawn Tate leading everybody on the team with a plus 17. Can't be mad at that. I think Tate played a great game. This season really just does show you how important it is for players like him to be in a winning context, meaning that they're playing meaningful games that they're trying to win. Tate on a tanking team is useless. Like, he just looks like a tryhard. But when you actually translate that effort to a team that has structure and is trying to win, his extra plays and the aggression in which he does things really does stick out. And him, Dylan Brooks and Amen Thompson had Charlotte's ball handlers in hell. And that, I think Tate came in the first quarter or second quarter. I think it was the first quarter. They forced 6 or 7 turnovers within a 4-minute stretch for when Tate came in the game. And what it was is the Charlotte Hornets didn't know where to go. They couldn't pick on Alperen Sengun because he was doing a great job neutralizing Mark Williams. I thought this would be a struggle game for him. And I'm looking here. Mark Williams only had 9 points, pedestrian 6 rebounds. He only played 25 minutes, non-factor. He was a non-factor in the game. So neutralized Mark Williams. Their pick and roll game was blown up because Alp found that sweet spot between dropping and kind of being up at the screen to allow the guards to fight over. But when Tate came in the game, with Amen came in the game, and then you had Dylan Brooks out there, that three man switch was just nasty. They were giving, I think they damn near turned the ball over every time that for like a 3 or 4 play stretch. So he definitely changed the game. So shout out to Tate, man. I think a lot of times people want to trade him, but you can see the value he has. But if they did trade him, I would understand because he has the best value on our team as a contract. But, he did well in 18 minutes. But I'm going to run through the starters, just going through, looking at how they played. And first person at the top of the list here, Dylan Brooks played 38 minutes. Him and Fred, 38 minutes apiece. You can tell what a coach trusts by the minutes they give to their players. And you could see that both Dylan and Fred had 38 minutes. Alp had 27 minutes as the starting lowest on the starters. And Jalen and Jabari had 30 minutes apiece. Now, I think Coach Udoka did let the bench hang out a little bit too long. He played a little bit too much of Jacques Landale, but I understand his thinking in that is that he wanted Alperen Sengun to have enough energy down the stretch to do what he did, and I'm going to talk about that. So Dylan Brooks, 38 minutes, 77% from the field with 7 of 9 from the floor, 3 of 3 from 3, 3 or 4 from the line. He had 20 points 7 turnovers, 5 steals, 5 assists, 3 rebounds. For the Rockets, he's just been doing pretty much everything right. He was a bit careless with the ball in this game, in some of his passes with those 5 turnovers. But as far as defensively, forcing, getting 5 steals, getting 5 assists, that's making the right pass and hitting the 3-pointers and taking good shots, driving to the basket. This is the best version of him. I don't think I've ever seen him sustain a multiple game stretch of him being this efficient in his career. And you can even date it back to the FIBA tournament. So if this is the guy that you're going to get, and this, we can't expect him to shoot 100%. Like his true shooting is like 70-something%. So if you get even like 75% of this, then he's going to be worth his contract. Dylan is going to be worth his contract. So where Dylan really shines is his screen navigation. I mean, it is literally night and day what him and Fred are doing for our defense, being able to navigate screens. Look on Synergy, they have him rated as an excellent pick and roll ball handler on defense. I mean, he's holding guys to 33% on pick and roll ball handlers. When you have those guards that are coming off, whether they're shooting or attacking the basket, they're shooting 33%, ranked in the 87th percentile, ranked excellent in that. That is a huge step for our team. And if you look at him on offense, for overall offense on Synergy, he's ranked as excellent. So he is right now like playing super efficient, and just shout out to him. I know I don't give the vets a lot of credit, but credit, you got to give them where the credit's due. This is definitely more than we're expecting from these guys. So, Dylan, if he, like I said, sustains 75% of this, and then, I think you would have something brewing there as a long-term piece for us, at least in the next year or two going forward. For Jabari, Jabari had a good game by his standards. What I mean by that is, if you compared it to how he's been playing, this was an excellent Jabari game. He played well on offense, well enough to impact the game, hit some big threes. Obviously, you guys may have seen some kind of bust on defense where he just stood there and let guys just rebound the ball over him. One that was called out was the one during the free throw where I forgot who it was that came in and just dunked the ball while he was standing there. And I was watching the Charlotte Hornets broadcast on it, and I think Del Curry said he has never seen that before, where a guy just stand there and just let somebody walk by and just get the rebound and dunk the ball. So he has these brain lapses on defense, which is a bit, like I said, long term. You are concerned about his defensive upside, but I think that doesn't mean he's going to be a bad defender. He obviously flashed some good things in this game where he was able to guard on the perimeter, use his length against some guys that weren't elite ball handlers. And at this point, that's really all you could ask for. It's just effort, at least hit your shots. I mean, you look at his stats, 70% from the field. He drove the ball, hit his mid-range shots, went 3 of 5 from 3, 17 points, 4 assists from Jabari Smith. So he's making the right plays, 6 rebounds. That's a great Jabari game. That's a great game. A -1 on the court for the team. Dylan was a -3, I forgot to say. My upside for him isn't where it was before. Like, I'm not going to say that I think Jabari is going to be like this two-way superstar, but can you be a all-star level player? Can you be a good NBA player that, with your base skill sets, that you can help your team win? And I think as a young guy, that's something that's going to be yet to be answered. Like, he just needs to figure out what is his identity, what does he like to do, and what are his strengths. And I think he's still trying to figure out all that out. But as time goes on, you kind of want that to be more defined because the team is trying to win. So that grace period that he would have got if we were tanking or we're a team that's not serious about winning, it's probably not going to be there. And if once Tari comes back and the team is fully healthy, it's gonna, that's gonna be a conversation to be had. You see, Tate is already kind of stealing some of his minutes. When Tari comes back, that's gonna be interesting. And I think they're probably gonna split that 3-way. But that's something to watch out for. But tonight, he played a really, really good game, efficient game. A couple of miscommunications. There was a time where Tate had to yell at him, where he just stood there and just didn't go to defend a 3-pointer and let I forgot who it was that hit the 3. Another time Fred had to yell at him, but that's what he needs. He needs those vets to really stay on his case and keep pushing him to be more mentally focused on the game and keep his mind in the game and on his assignment. But I think overall, good game from Jabari. For Jalen Green, 30 minutes as well, 6 of 16, not efficient from the field. I think he's still probably rushing a couple of his shots, but he hit some big threes for us. 4 of 8 from the 3-point line, 50%. He had 7 attempts at the free throw line, which I love. Right, a lot of that's what I've been saying for Jalen. Just keep driving. So it's safe to say Jalen is a streaky shooter. I think it's safe to say that for him. He's a streaky shooter. 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals for him, a -4 on the court. Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet played a very efficient game, 8 of 17, 47%, 50% from 3, hit 5 threes today. He has 11 assists. I think that's his second double-double of the year with 22 points and 11 assists, 3 rebounds, reminding everybody why the Rockets paid this money for him. I think, no for Fred is you got to kind of let guys play. Like, we can't go off the hill every game. Like, even this game, they could get beat bad the next game. You can't look at every game and micro react to every single game and say, oh, this guy sucks. He's not worth his money. Trade him, do this, do that. You have to look at it in chunks and look at it in groupings. Like, give it a couple games, then you can make a conclusion about small things. But even in that, you don't make major conclusions about players, their careers or their outlooks or how they're going to perform in the future based on just a few games. So I think that's something that a lot of fans do. Try to get in the habit of looking at things more big picture and letting more data accumulate and aggregate before we make these things. But Fred had a great game. Obviously he's not going to play like that every night, but he had a great game. And I think for him, Dylan, they did, this is what kind of their roles are going to be. They're going to have to play a hell of a lot better as far as on a night-to-night basis for us to have any chance of making a play-in tournament this year, because our young guys simply are not ready. One young guy that is ready is Alperen Sengun. And I think it's time that we have this conversation about, who the player is. I put a tweet out during the game that said, right now we need somebody to step up and win this game for us. And the reason I put that tweet out is because in these games, when we got to the fourth quarter, 5 minutes left, 4 minutes left, this is where last year or the year before that, the wheels would fall off, right? This is where the Rockets would break down, because when you lack structure in the NBA, when you lack great players or players that are able to generate their own offense or generate double teams and things like that, and you're able to capitalize on it, when you lack those abilities, you can keep up with any team for 3.5 quarters. Every team, good, bad, and different. You could pick any team in the NBA against Denver Nuggets, and for the most part, maybe they might blow out a few teams, but for the most part, any team can keep up with any team for 3.5 quarters. When you get to the fourth quarter with the last half of the game left, this is where it gets to a pseudo kind of playoff atmosphere where each possession matters, where every single possession matters. And in those types of moments, what you need to do as a team is to have a player that you can give the ball to, and you know that you're going to maximize that possession. The Houston Rockets have not had that over the past few years. We haven't had a player that we knew would maximize the possessions. Even if one of our young guys was having a good game, at best it would be, a guy's going off and he's just randomly hitting a bunch of shots, tough shots, fadeaways, and this and that. That's not going to win you games when you're really trying to compete, especially in a playoff setting, because there's too much variance for those shots. Jalen Green could be dropping 40 one night against the Charlotte Hornets, or 20 or 15, because he doesn't have his game really packed down yet as to what his superpower is and what he wants to do. When we played the Golden State Warriors, close game, but when it got to the fourth quarter, the Warriors went into their bread and butter, that split action, and they just let Steph just rescreen and screen us to death. And he rose to the occasion, because giving the ball to Steph Curry in the fourth quarter maximizes those possessions. What I noticed, and it started off a little rocky because I seen Coach Udoka take Alperen out and bring Tate in. And then with about 3 or 4 minutes left in the game, I was like, okay, he didn't suffer a seizure or stroke. Because I was like, why is Alperen Sengun out the game? He's literally your offense. I guess Tate got in there. They had a couple, they were going back and forth without scoring. And Coach Udoka subbed in Alperen Sengun. At first, I thought he was going to take out Fred for Sengun and leave Tate in. I thought he really lost it. But he put Sengun back in the game. And as soon as he got in the game, where did they go? Mid-post. Right? Where did they go? They went to the post. And what did Alp do? He scored. In the fourth quarter, Alperen went 100% from the field, 3 of 3. And he scored pretty much damn near either scored or assisted or screen assisted on almost every play down the stretch. And what you see out of that, for a coach to recognize that, is telling about our team. What does that tell you? That means that as of right now, Coach Udoka trusts Alperen Sengun to help nurse or keep a lead or close out a game, or the ball in his hands to close out a game more than any other player. Now that's different. That is different from previous years that we've had. That is different on a team with Jalen Green, Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks, Jabari Smith, to go to the post as your bread and butter in a closeout moment where the other team is on your heels is telling you something, that Alperen Sengun is that guy. If you didn't know it already, I've said it before, he's that guy. When you can go to a dude in the post and clear out and watch the double team and generate offense from there, he's that guy. And until the Rockets have somebody else step up, he's going to be that guy. Whether you like it or whether I like it or whether Rafael Stone likes it, at the end of the day, Ime Udoka, I'm going to say, is a man of his words. I'm not sure what his preferences are on offensive play styles or what type of players he likes or what his personal deep preference on the type of center he wants. But one thing that man said at his introductory press conference was that he's not a coach that's married to a specific ideology, that he plays to the strengths of the players that he has. Yeah, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. We're going to attack you in isolation, use our strength and size and skill to beat you to the paint, generate driving kicks for our teammates. You don't have that in Houston. The only semblance of a paint touch, consistent paint touch we have is Alperen Sengun taking his frame and backing down your local center from wherever city you're from. And that center or whoever's guarding him, praying that he misses a shot. We're praying his teammate comes in doubles and we kick out from there. So if you don't know, the Rockets are telling you with their shot selection down the stretch that when they need a bucket, it's going to be something with Alperen Sengun. And for us, this does change the dynamic. I even saw Jalen deferring to him at certain moments in the game. And by the time Jalen, started taking those shots, the game was already won. He kind of padded his stats towards the end there, but it was amazing to see. And the reason I chose that play from earlier as the play of the game, because it's still incomplete right now. It's still incomplete because in order for him to be maximized, Jalen Green has to be maximized. Alperen Sengun and Jalen Green are a pair, and I think they have a lot of synergy together. And I think Jabari Smith also has synergy for that trio to work. And I'm not talking about this year. Let's step back and take a big picture. I don't know which video was I spoke of a long time ago about the vision of the triangle. And in order for a triangle to work, there's 3 concepts you're going to need. In its peak, you're going to have a dominant post player that can pass. You're going to have a guard on the wing that is athletic enough to cut and put pressure on the defense by their cuts, and they could hurt you from the perimeter. And you're going to need a stretch shooter. Jabari, Jalen, Sengun. Let the kids cook. Right now, I think Alperen Sengun is our best player on the court because the dude's averaging like 19, 10, and 6 or 7. This is not normal for a 21-year-old. If you guys have watched the Charlotte broadcast, they get it. So if you're an Alperen Sengun hater, hey, bro, you gotta what they say, eat crow, kick rocks, whatever it is, because ball don't lie, bro. Ball does not lie. The kid is the goods. He is that damn good. He is that damn nice. And the craziest part of this is that he's been an average defender with all his skills, average on defense. So yeah, that's going to be a game changer for us. And I'm going to see how that evolves over time. Once they get to this next game, when we do our 5 games mark, I'm going to do a review of their first 5 games, dig into the stats just to show you guys who's doing what, who's strong, who's kind of weak in some areas. So we'll get through all that. But I think the Amen Thompson loss does hurt our chances against, even though the Kings are depleted, our bench is still a bag of hot mess. So I don't know what they're going to do to patch that up. You hope Tari Eason comes back fairly soon. So that'll be very, very helpful. But, this was a great game. Great calls by Ime Udoka. Some of the lineups were a bit suspect, but at the end of the day, he pushed the right buttons. I want you guys to notice the micro developments from game to game. Micro developments from game to game for these guys. They are growing. They are developing. They are taking big strides. And I compare it to, the analogy I use is like with Jalen and Jabari and Sengun, they're behind their cohorts of other NBA players from their classes that are ahead of them. Can you imagine if Ime Udoka was our coach when we traded James Harden? Where would Jalen be right now? Where would Alperen be right now? Where would Jabari be right now? If they had what they're getting now, this drive to be great on both ends of the court, the unrelenting effort, just the closeouts. I've never seen these guys close out so many damn times. This is all just stuff that is just grit and grind. What if Jalen had this for 2 years? What type of player would he be, right? What type of player would Alperen Sengun be? What type of player would Jabari be? They're behind right now. But the thing is that the analogy I use is like teaching a kid how to ride a bike. If you're teaching a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old how to ride a bike, that means somebody that is not really developed physically. It's going to be a little harder than teaching a 10-year-old that's never rode a bike, right? Because the 10-year-old has good motor skills. They got fine and gross motor skills. They can move. They're strong. They can balance, all that good stuff. Whereas a younger child that's never even used those movements in their lives is going to be a little harder. Jalen and Jabari and Sengun are the 10-year-old. The bike is defense, effort, playing in transition, communication. All these things they're trying to learn. You're going to see major development in a short amount of time because these guys have been in the NBA. They know what the NBA is like. For now, it's just for them to grasp the concepts that Coach Udoka wants them to grasp and apply it in real time. And I think you're going to see, once again, massive improvements in communication from game to game. I notice all of that. But we have a hellish schedule coming up, and the in-season tournaments coming up. Looking forward to breaking that down. I'm glad we got the victory. Honestly, it was just needed. I don't care how we got a hook or crook. We needed this. The Rockets really needed this. I hope this gives them some confidence going forward. I know the fan base, it's a big relief to not have the offer there. But they still got a long way to go. And they're just scratching the surface. As depleted as our bench is, as bad as we shot or shoot as a team, as all the deficiencies we have, this is the worst they're going to be. So you guys keep patient, man. It's going to be a long, bumpy ride. There's going to be some streaks coming up, good and bad. Wait till January. January, once again, that's going to be my marker of when they finally gel and mesh. You're going to see a team that may challenge some teams for competing for that play-in spot or a lower seed in the playoffs. But guys are going to have to come back healthy, and development has to peak. Jalen and Jabari have to catch up to the rest of the group for us to be there. But I'm banking on them to do so because I'm seeing the improvements that I want to see. But you guys, if you're listening to this podcast this late into it, hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the Chop Shop, where we give you all the premium content. Keep rocking with us, and we're going to keep dropping that. Bye.